Okay, so welcome to a playthrough video of a game I developed called Mars Rover. It's a print-and-play game. You can print all the components out for free online. And today I'm going to go through pretty much day one. It's a game where you've got to explore the terrain of Mars, looking for samples to dig for, analyze, and then upload. Before you run out of battery power. Probably easiest to demonstrate that with a demo. So hopefully you've got the playmat. You'll also need some 8 tokens. I've grabbed some marker tokens from Terraforming Mars. You'll also need a deck of cards that you can print out. The first thing to do is shuffle your deck of cards. They will form your explore deck. And let's just go in for a first couple of turns. Just to give you a bit of an overview of what's happening in the game sequence is provided, and that's how we're going to follow that through this playthrough. So first of all, we want to initialize our control panel. This is the representing what's currently happening in our Mars Rover. So we'll put our Mars Rover initially on scan. We will have 100% drill energy, gyroscope energy, and battery power, battery energy. And we are currently in the first day of our 3-day mission. So we'll stick our counter on day 1. And we haven't collected any samples yet, so we'll just put that to the left of 1, and we haven't uploaded any samples. During our exploration of the Martian surface, time goes by, and one way of taking account of that time is this mode grid here, and we're going to put our mode grid in position 1. And that will become obvious as we move through how we can use the different actions during our turn. So we're ready to go. The game is driven by what happens on the cards, and pretty much when we need to make a decision, we draw a card, and that then gives us some options or tells us what the current situation is. So we draw our first card, and we look at the camera view, and this is view of the Martian terrain, nothing to see, nothing happens, and so we discard that card, and we move our mode to represent time going by. So we go back to explore again. Still nothing, trundling along the Martian surface. Move explore. These icons on the bottom, I guess I could explain, are activities that we can do. So we can use an activity to recharge our battery. We don't need to do it 100%. Perhaps modify a movement if we were doing a movement. This one allows us to rearrange our power distribution. So if we had more power on our battery, we could redistribute it to our drill or our gyroscope. And if we were on the 4th one, we could upload some of our data and save it, moving it from volatile memory, which is the first 10, to more permanent storage. But we'll get to that if it happens. Let's carry on with day 1. Draw a card. Oh, okay. So this one is a solar flare, which would wipe out any of our volatile memory. Pulse of radiation. Fortunately, we haven't drilled for any samples, and so to a certain degree, this is a good time of the game to get this card. We move to takes up some time, but fortunately we can ignore that one. Ooh, this one is a base card. This is where we might want to end the day if our rover is damaged, or we want to recharge our batteries. At the moment we're still on 100%, we're still looking for things, we stay on scan. So we'll discard that, but it does take up time, so we move our mode back to battery recharge, but we're okay, we haven't used any extra energy. Look out. Nothing happening. Move our mode. we do spend a lot of time travelling the Martian surface, trying to detect samples. Funnily enough, it's what happens. Still nothing on the Martian surface. Oh, now, okay, so this is a bit more interesting. We've detected some samples that might be worth drilling for. So we've detected 4 samples, and the picture here indicates that it could be on a flat, it could be on the flat, it could be on a hill, or it could be in a crater. So to determine what kind of terrain our sample has been detected in, we draw another card, and we flip it over and we slide it into the bottom, and you'll see that we've got an icon at the top. So step 2, sample detected, determine the terrain type. So we flip that over, and this shows that it's a crater. What this does is it makes us then make a decision on whether we're going to engage 1 or 2 gears. 1 gear, we can go a bit faster, but it's a bit more insecure. If we use 2 gears, it's a bit more stable, but it goes a bit slower. And the danger when we're thinking about gears is if we're going down into a crater, if we go too fast, we might scoot out the other side. So I'm going to actually engage the 2 gears. What that means is I now draw a card to determine how that movement went. The first thing to look for here is to see whether we've got a battery icon. Because we don't have a battery icon, we haven't used any extra energy, so that's good. And now we want to look at the results of moving our gears. So we look at the results of our movement on this card. So that's 1 gear, this is 2 gears. Because we've applied into a crater with 1 gear, we've actually moved nowhere. Well, we've moved, but it hasn't cost us any energy, so we're still moving down into the crater. So we discard that. Because we've done a movement, there's a possibility that we've caused a rock slide, which could impact future energy. So we have to do a where was it? This one here. We have to do a rock slide detection, which is on the left-hand side. So we pull out our card, and we're looking for the dots. So we're currently in position 0. We're pretty good. And so this is the difference between 1 gear and 2 gears. If we were in 2 gears, 1 gear, we'd be going a lot faster, but it'd be more unstable. Would still be okay. Rock slide didn't happen, so now we make a decision. Do we stay with 2 gears, or do we ramp it up to 1 gear? I'm going to ramp it up to 1 gear because ultimately we want to get into zone 3. That's the best place for drilling. So we'll go for 1 gear this time. No battery usage, which is great. 1 gear going into a crater, we've gone 1, 2, 3. We're basically overshot, which isn't great. And that's, I guess, the issues of having a faster movement into a crater. So we now have to check to see whether we've caused a rock slide. And no icons on the 1 gear, so that's really lucky. Now we can decide, well, am I going to stay on 1 gear? We can only come backwards, or 2 gears. I'm going to try and slow it down. So I'm going to engage the 2nd gear. Again, no battery, which is good. If we look at 2nd gear going into a crater, because we're still using the crater terrain as our guide, we do a 1, so we move up 1. Pretty much perfect. We have to check whether we've caused the rock slide. So we now look here. They're all clear, so no rock slide, that's great. We can move to step 5, drill for a sample. So move across to drill for a sample, and then we have to see whether we're successful. So we draw a card, and we're looking for green things here. And so that's at level 3, which we're at, or level 2. Either of them we would have made a successful drill attempt, which is great. And because we've got 4 samples, we can take 4 samples on board. Unfortunately, every time you drill it impacts the stability of the terrain. So we will have triggered a rock slide. And so we have to then think, well, did we take any damage when that rock slide happened? And damage or extra energy usage to reorientate our rover. So the first thing we need to do is resolve the rock slide. And we look down this side here now, and we're at level 3. So to reorientate ourselves, it's taken 2 energy. So I'm going to take those from I'm going to take them from my energy bank actually. So we can use expend energy at any point. Okay, now I want to drive out. So we engage our gears to drive out. We've got a battery has appeared, so that's going to cost us an extra energy. And then we look at, this is our rock slide maneuver value. So we've got a value of 3, 1, 2, and we get out. So that we successfully navigated out of that rock slide. We're back onto smooth surface and pretty much completed a successful drill attempt. So we can throw out, those both get discarded. We're back on scan. We've lost a bit of energy, but we're trundling along. And we get nothing. So we discard that and we move this along. Okay, so we're now at a point where we've got our save icon. We've got some data, but you might see that we can only actually upload it in blocks of 5. So we can't upload yet because we haven't collected enough data. So we can't use that. So we will do another scan, explore the terrain. 3 samples. So we've detected 3 samples. We will determine the terrain type. That's lucky, we've got another crater, so that's good. Now we make a decision on, I'm going to go with 2 gears again because last time we overshot and that was potentially problematic. So we'll do our movement. Didn't cost us any energy, and we are using 2 gears into a crater, trundling along, but we haven't got any closer. We have to see whether we've caused the rock slide. We're clear, so that's good. I'm going to stay on 2 gears. Again, didn't cost me any extra energy, and I move forward 1. So that's great. Did we cause a rock slide? Nope, so if we'd been in zone 4, we would have. Other ones are clear, so that's good. So you'll see, as we go through, even though these cards look like they've got a lot of information, we only use one piece of it every time we draw a card. So we can cycle through them. And when our Explore deck runs out, we just reshuffle it, no penalty. Now I've got a decision. I can decide to try and drill at level 2, which may or may not be successful. It's more likely to be successful if we can get to area 3. Or I can try and move a bit closer. So I'm going to try and move a bit closer. And that's costing me a battery. So I'll lose a battery. And I am 2 gears, going into crater 1. So that's pretty much perfect. I'll draw for a rock slide, which hasn't happened, which is great. So I'll drill. Draw to drill. 2 greens. So I've got another 3 samples. 1, 2, 3. So that's great. I will have triggered some instability. So do we take any damage? Well, does it cost us extra energy to reorientate the rover? At level 3, we're taking 3 this time. 1, 2. And now I've got a choice. Once I start moving down to 25% energy, it stops me doing things. So either I'd stop being able to upload, I wouldn't be able to engage 2 gears, or I could only drill at the equivalent of level 2. If we ever move below to 0, we have to go back to base to fix them. At level 25%, we can do an energy transfer if we can get to that, but we'll see. So I've got 1 more to spend. I'll sacrifice, because it might be a temporary sacrifice. Now we have to try and maneuver out, drive out of our crater. That's costing us an energy, so I'm going to sacrifice my second drill. And we move 2, because that's our exit maneuver. 1, 2, back to scan. Successful drill attempt. We're looking a bit sad on the battery, but we'll worry about that in a minute. So, for the turn ends, I'm going to use my action. So I've got so you can use these actions basically anytime during the turn before you've drawn a card. So once you draw a card that might increment it, you can't use the previous action, if you see what I mean. So because I'm on that one there, just before the end of my turn, I'm going to use the save, which will let me save 5. I'll get it to 2 because I had 7. That's the end of my turn, and I move that up to there to remind me that I've actually spent it. So I'm back on scan. Let's draw a card. And so this is now empty terrain. This moves back down to here. And so the net effect of using that upload means I've skipped the energy recharge phase, which would have been quite helpful. But that was the cost of using my action. So draw another card. Nothing's happening. Bounce to that. I've got no need to do an energy transfer. So scan again. Nothing happening. Scan again. Okay. So this is now tricky. So we've detected 2 samples in another crater. But I've not got a lot of energy. And so I'm thinking, is it worth potential damage? Well, not damage, energy cost. So if I get a rock slide, or even if I successfully drill for 2 samples, I'm going to drive around it, and that's going to cost me 1 energy. But now things are looking a little bit more bleak on my energy track. Hopefully this card will solve it. So next card. Ooh, okay, that isn't what I wanted. It's another sample. This one is on the flat. I don't want to drill for it, so I'm going to have to burn one of my energy to get around it. Next card. Okay, so this one is nothing happens, but we move to energy. But what I can do is, now that I'm at the recharge phase, I can use that energy, and that recharges up my battery. So now I've got full battery power because I've done a bit of a quick solar recharge. Now I can draw next card, and I get another sample, which isn't what I want. It's 5 on a hill. I'm going to avoid it. Right, so now I have a nothing, so I move back to here. But before I discard that, actually, I'm now in energy transfer. So I'm going to use that to transfer 1, 2, 1, 2, back to my drill. The fun thing that happens now is that if I hopefully get, not that card, if I'd got a terrain card, I would have skipped to energy recharge, and I could have recharged my battery, then did a transfer, and you can slowly build up your energy again as you go across the Martian surface, so you don't have to go back to base. You want to avoid going back to base because going back to base costs you a day, and you've only got 3 days to collect samples. The problem that I'm in now is because I've gone across the line, I either have to go back to base or I have to spend 2 energy to basically re-kickstart that energy component. We'll see how we go. Might be going back to base is a good idea. Anyway, we've selected 2 samples. It's in a crater. I've clawed back a little bit of energy, but I think I'm just going to drive around it. Oh, okay, so this is a different card. This is a Mars quake. So, like an earthquake, but on Mars. So we move it to here. Instantly, because there's a Mars quake, we have to take some energy usage to see if we can rewrite our rover so we don't fall over. So we consult our Mars quake and we use 2 energy. 1, 2. Things are not looking good. Now we have to drive out of our Mars quake, so we only need 1 movement, but we use our exit maneuver. And even though we get 1, so we drive out, we've used our last piece of energy. And our rover is dead on Mars. No energy. We uploaded 2 pieces of data, 5 pieces of data, but we've got no energy. We can't get back to base. Game over. So I should have done better energy management. Didn't even get through day 1. Maybe I'll have better luck next time. Anyway, there's the first playthrough of Mars Rover.